Now, for your final project, what you are going to do is to create one more page. In this page on your site, I would like you to call it Multimedia. Make sure it matches the rest of your site. This is the font I happen to choose, but make it so it's cohesive with the rest of your site. Organize it as beautifully as you can, and also be sure that you meet the criteria that I have posted in Blackboard showing you what exactly you need to do. So I just want to demonstrate a few things for your consideration. So I put my title on here, Multimedia. Let's pretend I created a new page. And then to make it more interesting, I want to look at the elements. We've got basic, multimedia, revenue, which doesn't apply to education, and then there's more. I want to put a divider in under multimedia just for the sake of appearance, for the sake of making it more aesthetically interesting. The next thing, and this is something that some of you may have done, but if you haven't done it, I would like you to do it for this last page, and that is to make use of columns. So if you go to More, Layout, then click on Multiple Columns and drag it down, this is going to allow you to organize things a bit more beautifully. Almost like we did with when we would take screenshots out of PowerPoint and Word. This gives you a lot more control about how things look on your page. If you notice, it gives you a choice of how many columns you'd like there to be. These columns are invisible, so students won't see a table there, but it does hold things in place. You can put things side by side. You can embed tables within tables. For what I'm going to do, I am going to leave it at 2 columns at this point. So within this, I could, of course, make it 3, and it equally divides it. You can drag the lines and make some wider, make some smaller, depending on what you want to do with the page. But again, let's just go with 2 for my example's sake. The next thing that I can do to make this stuff pop and make it more interesting is I can add some things. And the first thing I want to add is my Twitter widget. Go into Twitter. Within Twitter, you're going to want to click on your settings. Then from settings, go to widgets. Under widgets, I want to create a new one. Now, automatically it gives me some defaults on here. You can play with how you want it to look. I'm going to leave it on light. Dark is another option. You can have it look like that, which kind of breaks up the space depending on the look you're going for. And I'm going to leave everything else at default. Create widget. Now here's the interesting part. If we go back to my Weebly site, I drug the custom HTML in here. This allows me to embed this widget. And right here is the HTML code. And it says here, copy and paste the code into the HTML of your site. So I'm going to copy this, go back to my multimedia page, click on that, then I'm going to paste or Velcro, Control V, that into my site, and I want it to be aligned in the middle, so I'll hit center. Watch what happens. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. All of my tweets are here. I've got tweets by me. I've retweeted some of the History Channel. These are just kind of examples of what you can do. Now, if I don't like the width of this, I can certainly play with the width. It does make it longer, makes the page longer, but students can still scroll down and see what I'm broadcasting on Twitter. Pretty cool, huh? So the next thing, I want to do is add my RSS feed. You should already have one, maybe two in mind. You'll want to choose one at this time. Embedding an RSS feed is just mildly tricky, but it's not insurmountable. So you want to click on More Miscellaneous, click and drag Feed Reader down into the other column, and by default it's giving me CNN. Well, my students are not going to really benefit from CNN because this page that I've set up for is for a history class, just as an example. I'm sticking with the history theme. So I need some kind of a feed that's actually going to benefit my students with current events or stories that they find interesting. So rather than having just a simple CNN site in there, I'm going to want to edit this. To edit it, all I did was click on CNN Top Stories. I clicked in this top tab. Up at the top, it shows the feed address, the position, the width, how many items I want to be shown, and how long or short I want the stories to be meshed out for students to preview it. So, for the sake of history, I found an interesting one called Today in History. Today in History allows me to subscribe to their feed. And by clicking here, this is how you embed it. At the top, right here in the URL, it usually begins with feeds, feed, or something to that effect. You'll want to highlight, copy it, go back to the web page in Weebly, and here where it says feed address, I'm going to get rid of that entire CNN one. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to Velcro my history widget in there. Click on the side to make it appear. Oops. And notice it only shows Today in History, so I only see one story at a time. This leads me to think I should probably try something different. Text length to fill the page more and make it match up more with my Twitter feed is I could actually go full, which leaves me some space at the bottom. I could go medium, which falls definitely short. Let's try long. Long is pretty close to my Twitter feed because it's about half. So why don't I go back into Today in History, and I noticed they had another neat RSS feed. It has daily historical events. So I want to subscribe to that. Again, I am going to grab the feeds URL at the top here, copy it, go back to my page. I want to drag another feed reader down there. And again, it's going to default to CNN, but again, I'll click here at the top. Whoops. Again, I will click so that I can replace CNN's URL with my history-related URL. Want to keep it centered, keep it at number of items. Click on the side here, let it refresh. Okay, the length is good, but if you'll notice, let me zoom out a bit here, or maybe not. If you'll notice, it does not quite match up. The top of tweets and the top of that first RSS feed really don't, they do line up, but see how the bottom, there's a discrepancy there? So I want to change the length on this. So to do that, I simply click back, and I did it again. Simply click back on this top part, and where it says length, I'm going to try medium. Okay, so that's pretty close. So as you can see, I've got some interesting features on my sample page of Tysic Demo, where on the multimedia page, students can see what I have on Twitter, they can enjoy every day. This will automatically refresh. They'll see what happened this day in history. They'll also see historical events from historyorb.com. The last thing I want to do is to add some videos or a video. And to break up all this space on the page, I want to add another divider. I'm going to do that at the very bottom below both of these tables. Drag it there. Boom. Got a nice little fancy divider. And now, again, I want to drag down custom HTML. Now, to embed a video, there's a few different ways to do it, but I am going to show you one way, and if you want to try another way, that's fine, but I'll just show you one way. You should have a video or videos from either TeacherTube or YouTube or some other legitimate site. TeacherTube and YouTube both allow you the opportunity not just to link to the video, so they have to click a link, but to actually embed it on your page. You're not breaking copyright laws at all because you're simply streaming it from their page to yours. It still lives here. I'm not stealing anything. So the embeddable player for the video that I've chosen, which is the Battle of Brandywine, it gives me the code right here. So I'm going to copy this code. And then I'm going back to my Weebly page. Going to Velcro or paste it in there. And for the alignment, I'm going to make sure that it's centered. See, when it was on the left, it looked kind of lopsided and not very attractive. So I'm going to center that. Notice it has no title. What I could do is I do have the option of going in and adding a title to that if I want, which I could put, I wouldn't want to put it in title, but I could put a paragraph directly beneath that. And I could type up a description. Let's say I called it the Battle of Brandywine. Notice how this Battle of Brandywine, sorry for all the clicking. Notice how the Battle of Brandywine video is aligned left. That doesn't look quite right. So what I'm going to want to do is center it. I also may want to boldface it or sexy it up a little bit. I can bold it. I can italicize it if I want. And I may even want to add a color to it. Let's just give it a pretty blue. Once we publish the page, here's the final result. Got my Tysic demo, and if you come down to Multimedia, we've got a beautiful collection of resources for history students. And then as students scroll down, they're going to see the Battle of Brandywine video, which they can play directly from the web page. And they don't even have to follow a link. It's all right there for them to view. And I do notice Brandywine is one word. I apologize for the typo. If you do have any questions, make sure that you use Weebly's FAQ and help features located right here on their page. You can also use the help features for the different sites that you're trying to link to. And lastly, you can always email and/or call me for additional assistance. Thank you so much.